The FX limited series Fosse, Verdon, at the center of it, has at center stage the relationship between Bob Fosse and Ann Reinking, his professional and romantic partner of several years. I'm Tony Ruiz of Gold Derby with Margaret Qualley, who plays Ann Reinking. And Margaret, going into this, how aware were you of not just Fosse, but Reinking in particular?
I was really aware, actually. I grew up dancing, so there's not that many dance movies around, and the ones that do exist, I've seen repeatedly in the back of a minivan, and one of those being All That Jazz. So I think that was my first introduction to Ann Reinking, and then I became a big fan of hers. So this was a crazy experience for me, having the opportunity to play, it was my first time playing a real person, and then to have it be one of my heroes, it was very daunting, but very exciting as well.
So you described Reinking as one of your heroes. What was it about her that drew you to her initially?
I mean, she's just such a phenomenal dancer, but then on top of that, she's really a performer, and she could be doing the same thing as another dancer technically, and something about her is just really magnetic. Yeah.
So did you how much research about Anne did you have to go into to prepare for this? Did you get to talk to her at all?
I did, yeah. It was great. I mean, the first time we probably talked for 2 hours on the phone, and then, just me asking her a bunch of questions and learning all sorts of things about her and like jotting down, basically just taking notes the entire duration of the phone call. And then in the latter half, I was honest and confessed to her how nervous I was to play her, because she's one of my idols, and she was so sweet and loving, and was like, call me anytime, and even if it's just to give you a pep talk, I'm here on the phone, and he just remind you that you're honest and that you've got this. And I think I abused that potentially, because I did call her a lot. But I was really fortunate to have a dialogue with her.
So did she give you and whatever you feel like sharing, but did she give you anything specific that gave you an in to her at this point in her life that's covered in the series?
More than anything, I think, rather than the actual information that I got from her, just what was super impactful was just her as a person. She's so loving and so generous and so warm, and having the opportunity to kind of feel that through the phone was really special.
So when we first meet, when we first see Anne, we see her in rehearsals and catching the eye of Bob Fosse, played by Sam Rockwell. You mentioned, having dance experience. What was it like preparing to do Fosse dancing? Because most dancers that I've talked to describe it as a completely whole different monster.
It really is. I mean, I think what's so special about Fosse style is that basically, Bob, I think, realized that he wasn't going to be the dancer that he wanted to be because of certain body physical limitations. And then instead of shying away from those and trying to cover those physical things that were different about him, he really emphasized them. So, with asymmetry and turning your legs in rather than out, and even, he was balding, so he's wearing a hat. All these things that weren't typical to dance, he really drew focus to. And I think that's something that's so special about him, is that rather than, if there was a dancer that had something off about them, he would highlight what was off about them and make it this beautiful, sexy, strange thing. So yeah, I'm just a big fan of the Fosse style in general. And then as far as learning this choreography, I was so fortunate, because I actually got to learn it from some of the original Broadway legends like Pam Sousa and Marianne Lamb, and people that had real experience doing this. And Pam Sousa is someone who worked with Bob, so it was wild to be able to have a pretty direct choreography, because there's been so many various iterations of this choreography because it's so famous that I think it sometimes gets lost in translation. So to have her notes, which were his notes, it was really cool experience.
Oh, and it's really interesting that you say that, because there is it is so ubiquitous in dance, the Fosse style,
Yeah.
that it's instantly recognizable. So one of your jobs, I guess, is that you're kind of like, playing the new person taking this on.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you keep it fresh without turning it into what the cliche? How did it feel to be doing that type of dancing and know that it's not being done, that it's almost like it's being done for the first time?
I mean, right. I was just trying to make it as authentic as possible and do Ann Reinking justice, because she's one of the most phenomenal dancers out there, and I'm sure that I didn't get close, but I tried my best.
So there's two really key relationships, not just between Ann and Bob, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it seems to me that one of the key relationships really is between Ann and Gwen Verdon, played by Michelle Williams. A relationship that on paper would seem so, awkward and difficult, but these two really formed a bond.
They did.
Together. And so talk about how you see their relationship.
I mean, it's a very complex relationship, and having talked to Anne, Anne only has love for Gwen and thinks she's just, an amazing person. I mean, it's same for Bob, but as far as the relationship, I can only really speak to the relationship that's in the script, which isn't entirely true to life. Nothing's going to be, it's fabricated a bit. But regardless, I think that they were allies for each other. I think that they helped each other out and they had each other's backs. And yeah, it really plays against any kind of cliches that might typically be involved in that kind of dynamic.
And I'm thinking specifically of the scene in the beach house in the kitchen between you and Michelle Williams, where
how amazing is Michelle Williams?
well, I have my opinions. You tell me. You two really, that scene. There's so many layers in that scene.
I love her so much. It was
walk us through how that worked.
Yeah. I mean, on the day it was just me pinching myself, like, is this really happening? But yeah, she's such a wildly phenomenal actress, and this project in general really was such a dream come true, because like I said, it was playing a hero and then I was working with my heroes. I mean, I don't think there's an actress I've wanted to work with more than Michelle Williams. And then Sam Rockwell, I mean, it doesn't get any better. So yeah, this was terrifying but awesome. but yeah, super complex and I'm sorry, what was the question?
Well, how did you and Michelle talk a lot before that scene about, all the stuff going on? Because there really are layers. There's Gwen's relationship with Bob in the past, and it's not only Anne with Bob, but Anne with their daughter.
Yeah, we did all talk, and Thomas Kail, the director, as well, was really just such a dream to work with and to break everything down. And I was really fortunate to have a bit of rehearsal time with him and also with Sam and Michelle. I mean, this I think speaks to both of their characters in such a huge way. I came in on episode 4, so or 5 really, and when we were prepping episode 5, it was just me and Michelle one day, and then me and Sam another day, and we went through the whole script, and Michelle the first day was like, can I, we got to a scene that was just me and Bob, and she was like, can I read for Sam? And then the same thing happened the next day with Sam Rockwell reading for Gwen, for Michelle. And they're just both such hard workers and so dedicated with no ego, which is amazing at this point in their career, I think. I mean, yeah.
And I think of the scenes with you and Sam Rockwell, and there's such a vulnerability on both sides to those. What do you think Anne saw in Bob, and what do you think Bob saw in Anne?
I just think that she thought he was everything, you know, and when he did give you his attention, it made up for all the times that he was not great. You know, I think that he provided so much light and was such he was a creative genius, and I think that was really appealing and alluring and hard not to be swept away by. And as far as Bob with Anne, I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't know who wouldn't love Anne, but I mean, yeah.
Not that you're biased or anything.
I'm a little biased. I love her so much.
Is there a scene in this in we've only through really episode 6 has aired, so we won't spoil anything in the last 2 episodes, but going up through the 6 episodes that have been so far, is there a moment that you're most proud of? Is there a scene that you're most proud of?
Well, I haven't watched, to be honest, but
really,
I need to, just because I need to watch Sam and Michelle, but I'm terrible at watching myself. And I'm about to work, and I don't want to be too insecure before I do that, so I'm not watching it. But I don't know. I mean, I really love the episode that takes place in the beach house, just because it read so much like a play, and that was, and that was fun. My favorite thing to do as an actor is just listen and talk to people and have scenes that are about, that are just about talking. But then, I also was super stoked to be able to do the Manson trio. That was pretty freaking cool. So, yeah.
So one of the things, you've got so many, upcoming projects. What do you look for when you're coming at a role, when you're looking at parts? What speaks to you first? Is it something in the writing? Is it the people that you're working with?
I just look to be hired.
That might be the most honest answer I have ever gotten to that question.
And other than that, setting my barometer real low. No, just, compelling stories, or, in this case it was kind of everything. It was a compelling story. It was a dream cast, and the director I really wanted to work with. It was all of it. And the dance element was really exciting. But in general, just I would like to hit one of those, like either a compelling story, or someone I really want to work with, or a character I really connect to. But like I said, also just being hired.
So when you this obviously, for people who know and love theater, who know and love the history of American theater, this is of course a just catnip for us. But for people that don't know the story and aren't familiar with these characters, what do you think? How does this show appeal to more than just a Broadway audience?
Well, I think it's something that they've been saying over and over again, that I've heard Michelle say, that I think is really true, is that everyone knows Bob Fosse and nobody knows Gwen Verdon. Or not nobody, but a lot of the vast majority maybe is more familiar with Bob Fosse than Gwen Verdon. And I think that's really interesting, and seeing that, in a time when women had less power and influence, to see all that went into the name, all the work that Gwen did, and all of her insight, and basically that what we know as Fosse wouldn't be Fosse without Gwen Verdon. I think that's interesting. I think the way that they talk about the intricacies and the grayness and the abuse of power is interesting. And they talk about it in a really complex way that doesn't necessarily villainize someone, but exposes just truths. Yeah.
Has this awakened your desire to do more stage work?
Oh, I would love to. I would definitely love to. I mean, I don't know that this necessarily awakened the desire, but I've always wanted to do that. I just haven't yet. But yeah,
Well, there's always time.
I hope so.
Uh, Margaret Qualley, congratulations on Ann Reinking.
Thank you.
It's really eerie sometimes, the inflections of the voice that just sound like
Oh,
her.
good man! I tried
Um,
so hard for that. I think I can quote every interview of Ann Reinking that's on YouTube from start to finish. Yeah,
well, Ann Reinking famously succeeded Gwen Verdon in Chicago. Maybe one day you'll have the same opportunity.
that would be incredible.
Margaret, thank you so much. Everybody, be sure to visit goldderby.com, make your predictions for the Emmys, Oscars, and Tonys, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and see more interviews with the tastemakers of Hollywood and all the awards contenders this season. Margaret, thank you so much.
Thank you, man.